Hello, and hey, it's me. Welcome back to CES 2019 here at the FLIR booth. Oh, they're all leaving. That hurts. Is it my voice? It's my voice, isn't it? I can go lower. Hey, how you doing? That doesn't actually sound much better at all. So, welcome. It's our last presentation today. I'm very excited by it. It's going to be with a man named Chip Wade, who you might know from HGTV. He's also an Emmy-winning producer. He's an amazing human being who I greatly admire and enjoy. So with that said, before we begin, we're going to do what we normally do, which is get you ready for a giveaway. So to be able to actually do the giveaway and also to start the presentation by the lovely Chip Wade, I just need to fill the rest of these seats. Without that, I'm nothing. Yeah, just take two. Your bag counts as a human being now. It's CES. There's no rules. Also, hello to everyone watching on the live stream. How you doing? You look great. You do. Cool. So, let me just tell you about the booth. I know you know already everything about the booth, but the booth is fantastic this year. I'm very excited by it. We have the thermal selfie right over there behind that gentleman. You can do your own Therminator, which looks really cool. Also, around the corner that way is what I think is very special, an autonomous vehicle. And this autonomous vehicle is unique because it has a thermal 360 array on the top of it. So if you haven't experienced it yet, definitely after this talk that's coming up, go over there, sit in the car, look at the thermal around you, and it's great. Another way to experience thermal is over on this end, there's a VR experience where you can actually see what these thermal tools that we have displayed here can do. So you can really experience it in our version of reality. It's very, very exciting, very cool. But with that said, well, first and foremost, I love all of you. Thank you for coming. It's very nice of you. And we're going to be doing a giveaway after Chip Wade's presentation. What we're giving away is two things. One is the VP50, and we'll have two of those to give away. And then also, one thing that I love, the FLIR C3, which is an all-in-one thermal unit. It's awesome, but again, to give those away, I really need to fill these seats, or else Vache over there will probably hit me, as he normally does. But it's all right. If you use oranges, it doesn't bruise. But what I can do, would you like a you sat down, would you like a flashlight? There you go. Of course. Anyone, would you like a flashlight? Yeah? I have one more flashlight. Richard, you don't need a flashlight. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Yes, I would love to give you a flashlight. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, let me just, you know what? While we're waiting for some more people to fill the seats before Chip Wade comes out, let me ask you this. How's life? Life is good? You enjoying CES so far? This is actually my first time here. Anyone else first times for anybody? You? You guys are seasoned pros, though, it seems like. 38 years? Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. It's not? No? You're just... Has it gotten better, though, every year? You know what's going to be the best? This presentation coming up. You're sitting there right now. By the end of it, you're going to be blown across the room. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if that's true or not, but just believe me and think that it is. It's true. We did it. Yes? Oh my gosh, Vache, I have used thermal imaging stuff before. Should I go into detail about how I've done it? Okay, I'd love to tell you, and also everyone. So, I guess I didn't really introduce myself. My name's Jake Roper. Hello. I make science content on YouTube, is my profession. And I use FLIR thermal cameras for everything, which is one of the reasons why I'm here. I've done a video about Home Alone, like if you could actually survive Home Alone. And one of the things I used FLIR for was checking the hot door handle. If you remember Home Alone, you know, he heats up a door handle using a barbecue heater, and it gets to an incredible temperature. So we actually recreated that, and we're able to see how hot a doorknob can become incandescent through thermal vision. It was fantastic. The latest thing I did with FLIR, we actually redid some of the stunts from Mad Max. And we used thermal vision to see what would actually happen to with an explosion in a human body. Because you see in movies, everyone gets blown back. But what would actually happen if there was an explosion mass enough to blow you backwards? You'd probably die. Watch the video to find out. But speaking of videos, actually, before we begin, I do want to show you one video about FLIR and how FLIR is used to save lives, specifically in a fire. So we're going to play that right now, and then we're going to get into Chip Wade.
Packet 500 something.
Engine 5 received, all right.
Engine 13 confirmed.
Thank you. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for doing the job that no one else will. Thank you for saving me.
All right, so right before Chip Wade comes in, I have a few more goodies to give away. If people want to take a seat real quick, you just look so excited. Here's a flashlight. There you go. So who wants to take a seat real quick? I will give you either a flashlight or a what do you want, battery bank? Flashlight. Game time decision. Flashlight. What about you? Flashlight. One more seat. Oh. Oh. Oh, no. You took away my fire, my thunder. No, it's fine, Vajra. Which one do you want? Battery pack? Oh, look at this. I now have a 20% discount at FLIR. Who wants this? You do. What is it? It's a 20% discount at FLIR. Yeah, you love it. So now we saw FLIR being used to save lives in fire, but it can also be used for many different purposes, and Chip Wade is going to talk about that. Again, he's an incredible human being. He's on HGTV, you might have seen him before. He's also been on Oprah, CNN, many different things. He's a craftsman, a woodworker, a renovator, and he's going to explain how he uses thermal technology in his business. And then after his talk, we're going to give away these devices right next to my feet. They're incredible, but please welcome Chip Wade.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you all have enjoyed day one of CES. I had a chance to walk around a little bit. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? Who's first time to CES? It's amazing, isn't it? Did you make it out of just these two halls yet? It is. Well, we'll definitely get our steps in. My name is Chip Wade. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm honored to be here in the FLIR booth today. If you're not familiar with me, that's quite all right. I actually don't watch a whole lot of TV myself, even though I'm on television. I've actually been with HGTV and DIY Network for the past 12 years or so. Done shows like Curb Appeal, Design to Sell, shows like Ellen's Design Challenge, which was a furniture building show. I'm kind of the designer builder guy, and I love toys and I love tools. My background was all in engineering, and so I've brought that engineering and that passion for how to make things and brought it into the home renovation and design space. So today I'm actually going to show you guys some of the fun approaches that we take for integrating technology and some of the stuff that you actually see all over CES into real-life application. So over the past 10 years or so, I have been fortunate enough to see the spectrum of a lot of different tech in the home and lifestyle category. Everything from CNC technology, which used to be very cutting edge, now it's very mainstream. In my workshop, in my home in Atlanta, we have everything from laser cutting, like CO2 laser cutting, high-tech 3D printing technology that is just rapid prototyping for anything and everything custom that we can now actually afford as even everyday homeowners, which is really exciting. What once cost so much, and there was a huge barrier to entry, now becomes something that can fit in your pocket that we all have access to. So that is definitely the joy of technology. Now, in addition from having an architecture and design firm, I also have a production company, and you're like, well, those are two very weird things. It scratches the itch of being able to create, come up with an awesome idea, and see it come to life. So that's what home renovation is. It's also what creating interactive experience is. I am very passionate about helping homeowners make educated home purchasing decisions. Now, whether it's buying a house, whether it's renovating it, who's done a renovation in the past 3 or 4 years? Anybody? Was it a stressful thing? Of course, right? Renovation is one of the most stressful things homeowners go through, but it doesn't have to be. All right, if we, after doing about 1,500 different renovations over the past 10 years, I'm going to share some of my tips on how to make that process go a little bit more smoothly, and some products that can be leveraged and that can be used that you can actually find here today throughout the process. But before we go through some renovations, I'm actually going to just take you guys through one of my latest projects that we just released, which allows us to go into a virtual environment and actually translate that into purchasing product in a virtual space. So you guys have seen maybe some augmented reality solutions, maybe some virtual reality solutions where you can walk around designed spaces, right? You've probably seen that with brands like Wayfair, even like the Amazon deal of the day has an augmented reality thing, right? Who's used that, by the way? Anybody? No? Have you not seen that? You should look at it, but what's kind of disappointing about it is the fact that it is incredibly low resolution, right? When you buy a couch offline or when you buy flooring offline, when it just looks like a low resolution image, do you really have the information that you need to say, I'm going to buy this right now. I'm going to spend $3,000 on flooring and put it in my house and have it shipped to my house? Right? These are some of the challenges that we're facing in the virtual space. So one thing that you're going to see that's actually out right now, it's coming out, we're working with a lot of brands to do this, is actually create completely virtual environments. So we've reached a new era of virtual rendering or architectural rendering. So here's a great example. One of these images is a real high-resolution editorial photograph. The other is fake. Is actually designed completely from scratch digitally. So take a look closely. Image on the right, show of hands. Which one, who thinks that the image on the right is the real image? Okay, I get some of these. What about the image on the left? So we're split. So the whole concept here is by the time we're at the place where as many people think a real photograph is fake, as an augmented or a virtual image is real, we're in a really, really good spot. So in fact, the image on the right is actually fake. Cool, right? But you are seeing these in real print, in real editorial. You are maybe not even realizing that some of this stuff is not real. So I'm going to take you guys through a couple of other spaces. This is actually a couple of snapshots, and I'm going to show you a virtual walkthrough of the first completely interactive virtual show house. We created this where you can actually navigate it around on your smartphone. If you actually have a smartphone now, you can go to innovationshowhome.com, and you can actually navigate in full 360 a completely interactive home, walking room to room if you want, with fully integrated tips, materials, point of purchase, and video all integrated into one engaging experience. What's cool about this is this allows architects, designers, builders, homeowners, all to interface this in the same platform and to be able to speak the same language. This is a really awesome transition of how technology is really moving in a great direction. So other examples, right, like this. It would be very expensive to create or find a room scene like this or to shoot a video in a room scene like this. What we can actually do is to create these for specific products to tell the story to help homeowners make more educated decisions in what they're buying. So I actually created this for a flooring tile product, but we're able to swap that out and see more product specifications as we go. Again, even this, if we dive in, and some people are skeptical on quality, right? This is interesting, right? The cover of a national editorial magazine, but is the quality really good? It looks okay right here, right? This is a really big screen, but let's dive in. I'm actually going to zoom in on this portion right here, right? Let's go in further, right? So we have now gotten to the point where technology is affording us to be doing resolution, clarity, and design in complete virtual, right? Non-existent reality that actually makes it more cost-effective to tell that brand messaging and also be able to help us tell a better story to the consumer to help, again, educate them. Pretty cool, right? So be on the lookout for these types of solutions. Ultimately, it's good for all of us. What it's going to allow us to do is get those questions answered more clearly, have better conversations with our designers, with our architects, or ultimately between our own families to be able to get to that end game. Sound good? All right, this is just a real quick kind of interactive of what this actually looks like on your cell phone. So if you go to innovationshowhome.com, you're going to be able to see what this looks like. So you can actually spin around just like this, and you can see there's different navigation points, tip segments, even little hot spots to where if you're in a real show house, you're not allowed to touch anything, and we love to touch stuff, right? So here's actually an example of home automation, right? So we're going to be able to go in and actually play with lighting control, turning things on and off, changing out different products to different look and feel, seeing product specification, installation instructions, tips, all at your user-driven experience. So the beauty of that is we're not telling you what to look at. You have the keys, and you can drive. Pretty cool, right? If you guys have more questions on this, I'll be sticking around a little bit afterwards. But even changing lighting scheme, any type of product information we can put in here. One of the big things to watch out for as there's different solutions that kind of come to life with this type of technology is the purposefulness of what you're looking at here. So even looking at aspirational things, like this is a big golf simulator with a 24-foot complete 180-degree screen. Right? All these types of things that if you maybe have never seen it actually installed is going to allow you to experience what it could be. Does anybody have has seen any of the latest golf simulators? Who's a golfer? Anybody? I'm kind of a golfer. I stink at it, but I've got one of these actually in my house. And this is one of the cool things is I get to try out a lot of these things and see what's hype versus not, right? So golf simulators are one of the, I would say, mega luxuries that actually is one of the most practical installations that you could have in your house. So men, women, if you're golfers, one of the dualities of creating a golf simulator to a home theater, it's all the same stuff. So in my house, I actually have one where it's a golf simulator, full swing analyzer, but it's also a racing simulator. I actually have a chassis that pulls out and integrates with all the same screen system, and it's fully immersive, but it's also the coolest home theater for the family that you can imagine. Just so you guys know, trends for home theaters in the house, if you are looking at new construction and you've got a whole room, if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford a place that has a type of home theater, the channeled off individual rooms are definitely moving out of style, right? Open concept theaters on terrace levels is absolutely the new transition of trend. So not having them closed off, being more open concept to the main living area, technology is playing right into that and giving us a lot of opportunities. Pretty cool? All right, I'm going to change gears here and actually take you guys through a couple of renovations. Everything I'm showing you here were different renovations that you may have seen on HGTV, and I'm going to show you guys some of the thought process for the equipment that we use on some of these projects. So this was a fun project that was a real barn. I'm going to show you the exterior of that barn in just a second. But these are clients that called me up and they said, Chip, we've had 10 different designers over. None of them seem to get this. I tend to get the calls from the people who have tried a lot of things and are just kind of at their wits' end. They're like, Chip, you're our last resort. If you can't do this, we're just not going to do anything, right? So they called me up. They said, Chip, we want you to build a completely new house from scratch. I said, okay, that sounds like a great client, right? They had plenty of money. It wasn't about that, but they loved animals. One of the biggest things I try to do with all my clients is to connect with them on a really, really personal level. So they had all of these different stalls. This barn was enormous. I said, what do you use all these for, right? They said, well, we've got 9 dogs and 3 horses and a pig, obviously, which was vicious. It looks nice, but it was a very mean animal. And the rest of the stuff was just for the kids' play equipment. I said, have y'all thought about utilizing or transitioning some of this square footage and actually building living accommodation underneath the roof that's already here? And they said, no, absolutely not. I said, give me 2 days. I'm going to sketch something out for you guys. The culmination ended up being we didn't build them a new house at all. We ended up giving them functionality inside a barn and built them a whole house within the barn itself that perfectly fit their lifestyle. So we went from that barn to this here. Now, you notice a couple of things, right? This is not what they were asking for. Some of the best creative designs are not out of the mind of the homeowner. That's sometimes why, it can be a stressful process. What we have to do as professionals is kind of look into the lifestyle of what is an identifiable characteristic of these homeowners and create something magical for them. So what we ended up doing is blowing out the ceiling. So now we have a 30-foot high great room, which is a kitchen great room combination. We have a big custom wooden clock here that I built. I'll show you all that closer in a minute. But the real cool part here is that we have a huge picture window that overlooks and looks inside the barn. Right? So we actually have the horse eating the hay right here while you're eating your Cheerios, right? But this is like exterior on the other side, yet it's still under the same roof. So you can't smell the animals, you can't feel it. But what's also magic about this type of thing is when the family and friends of the Jordans, whose home this was, come over, you don't have to explain to them why this home was designed specifically for them. They know, they're like, wow, this is totally Elizabeth, right? That's what we all actually are looking for. We want that pride, we want that excitement, and we want something that's just enough off the beaten path to not look like it's a regurgitated space, but that really, really works. And that comes from some really authentic design. This is that big clock I was telling you about. One thing I love, if you're doing a project and you're just frustrated with how far your money's going, one thing that you can always do is let that be an indicator where that may be the time to make something custom. I was looking for some full height. So this is like 20 feet from this gangplank up to the ceiling. I needed something to make a statement to draw your eye down from the bottom all the way up to the ceiling. So instead of just buying some junk art, if you're not into art, good art is really expensive, and I didn't want to spend the money there. So I thought, we were going to make something custom and something really practical at the same time. So I actually created what's still arguably the world's largest fully operating wooden clock. So this is real weighted pendulum, real weights. We cut it out, we designed it, and installed it. It's pretty cool. Makes the most awesome sound, right? So actually creating a story around the effort to create something that's beautiful but also functional at the same time. So this was the outside of the barn. Now, my toolbox, there's only so much space in my toolbox. And after doing this for almost 15 years, you can imagine I've seen what works and what doesn't. And only what works stays close at hand. There are some select FLIR products that have made its way into my arsenal. And I'll share what those are, especially in the home diagnostics category. So this is actually an example of because we do a lot of production work, I already had some of the drone technology, and I bought all this stuff back when it was super expensive. Now you can get drones. If you've been downstairs, you can see it has taken over, right? And even as you look on this table over here, thermal, it's not just regular digital imagery anymore. Thermal imagery from aerial is immensely powerful, especially as it relates to home diagnostics. So we actually had an issue with a composite slate roof here. You can imagine, I'm 36 years old and I still don't like to get on ladders and get on steep roofs, especially one like this. So to be able to inspect something closely, having tools at our disposal, like drone photography and especially thermal up top, allows us to see everything from energy efficiency to damage that would otherwise not be defined or not be found. All right, so there's a lot of different things like this that make its way into our toolbox. All right, here's another project that's really fun. I'll kind of zoom through this one. This is really meant to kind of inspire you guys on how we can leverage technology to make something extremely precise. I had a client that lived, this was their backyard. They said, Chip, all we love to do is we like to go outside and read, which is great, right? They wanted kind of like an adult reading area. They had a young daughter, and they wanted a place to play. And they wanted kind of the stereotypical outdoor living attributes, right? They wanted a fire pit, place to sit, right? They said, do whatever you want, right? So what we did is we actually turned this space into this. Now, the cool part about this is that this is comprised of just shy of 15,000 different individual blocks of what's a material called Austrian spruce, which is a wood block material, of which there's a lot of them that are different sizes. But what's really interesting like this, you're like, wow, who would be intimidated to build this? Anybody? Right? Well, that's the exciting part is that it looks intimidating, but it's totally not. This is all the same material done in the same construction method. And whenever you do something this repetitive, it starts getting a lot easier, okay? So what we ended up doing is creating swooping fencing, a massive 27-foot pavilion here, as well as this reading pod that's up here that I think is really, really fun. We just created a nice little jig and just stacked these blocks. We dipped them all in exterior urethane and then screwed them all together with hidden fasteners so nothing is shown. So this is an iconic backyard for someone that wanted something a little bit different. But again, off the beaten path design yields absolutely the best results if it's done in a quality method. These are even concrete benches. There's so much to this fun thing. These are actually styrofoam blocks that I used a hot wire to cut. I used my rear end as a template and cut out a nice comfortable seat shape with an angle grinder. And then I actually used a drywall hopper. Have y'all ever seen those that they actually dump wet drywall mud into and can spray on the walls? And I sprayed a cementatious material on the outside. This was gray. You can do it in any color, but I created outdoor waterproof custom furniture for pennies on the dollar that look amazing and that could be extremely custom. Right? These types of ideas can open up your mind to what's not available right off the shelf. I actually used a fun material here. This jam that's coated in that same cement is actually PVC boards that I melted in heating blankets to make them malleable. And I formed them while they were still hot, clamped them in place until they became room temperature again. The molecular structure of those plastic boards reconnect together and they bond and hold it into a solid reference for us to put an additional material on there. It's a great trick for form making for custom shapes. You could use that for a number of different things. So for the mild DIYer or the craftsman that's out there, some of these ideas really, really do make a huge difference. There was the reading pod that kind of looks like an adult treehouse. Pretty cool, right? And all it is wooden blocks. It's like adult Legos, right? Pretty cool. But I had to model all of this ahead of time with software that's free. I actually use a number of different programs. For some of the visuals that I showed you earlier, that's really, really, really high end, right? I am actually designing all of this stuff in Google SketchUp, the free version, because I can do it so fast, right? Does anybody use programs like that? If you are intimidated by those types of programs, you should just download it and try it. It's the most amazing visual tool to be able to communicate back and forth. Actually, for all of our design clients that we work with, our first step is actually modeling their home in complete 3D. We bring it up on screen, and whether you're 2 miles down the road or 2,000 miles across the country, we actually are able to do live design in full 3D right in front of you. Right? It's an amazing time in technology to be able to do that. It's very transparent. So find somebody that has that level of communication. It will revolutionize your renovation and your design experience. All right, we got time for one more? Yeah? Okay. This was a very small ranch home. A lot of times people think, oh, Chip, with all your HGTV shows, you're only working with these beautiful homes and all. No. We work with very, very normal, approachable projects all the time. People also think that we go from one project, finish it, go to another project, finish it, go to another project. On any average day, we would have 5 to 7 of these going on at once, okay? Of which we could have been doing this one. I actually think we did do this one and that outdoor wooden pods episode at the same time, and we still finished them in about 2.5 weeks, right? So the process, I'm not saying that that's reality. HGTV and DIY get a real bad rap for kind of underestimating cost and time to actually complete projects. But we do them very quickly, but they have to be designed absolutely to a T, and we design them ahead of time because we don't have time for mistakes, right? So here's an example of a small kitchen that's not ideal. You see this dark living room back here. You can see kind of some exterior brick. This was a porch that was added on at some point in time. This is that same dark living room. There's a fireplace back there. This is another view looking back into the kitchen, right? You can kind of see a little bit of that dark living room. and this is it back on that porch. Now, I'll just do a quick show of hands. If I said you had $60,000 and you had to come up with a design and renovate this, and there was going to be cameras to come film it in 2 weeks and show it on national television, what would you do? That's my everyday, all right? So what would you do? Somebody raise their hand. What would you do? $60,000, what's going to be the best way to renovate this space? People are already stressing out. I can see it. Yes, sir. Okay, she's going to check for load-bearing walls. Okay, so are people scared to do that? Which of these walls are load-bearing? Can you tell? Can you tell? You know? You're guessing the intersection point. These are all guesses. I'm not hearing any meat on this bone here, all right? So this is what happens. People guess, and immediately you start to get into kind of backtrack mode because suddenly the overwhelming sense of uncertainty starts to settle over your decision-making process. And whether your husband or your wife is there with you, this is where the conflict already begins. Because you don't know if you should take a wall out or if you should spend that money somewhere else to make a better final product. What you need to understand is what your options are ahead of time. Now, after doing so many renovations, the average family would go straight to a general contractor and say, we want to open this up a little bit. We want to have a great kitchen. He'd say, okay, you know what? We can open these up a little bit. On average, what people would do is open up both of these openings to about 12 feet. 12 feet is a typical span that you can span with a ranch home with traditional lumber like a 2x12, like a quad 2x12. My background was, I was a structural engineer before I started with HGTV. So a lot of that kind of knowledge comes into play here. Now, when you do that, what does that actually do for your floor plan? Right? You have a couple of larger openings, but what you really have is an even more awkward layout that doesn't actually see into the future and perfect what that layout would be for your final product. So being able to see what that canvas is before you ever start thinking about the aesthetic of your design is extremely, extremely important. What most people don't realize, though, is the same price structurally to open up 2 of these openings to 12 feet, we can actually remove every single wall in the place, put what's called a structural ridge that free spans across the whole entire place, and turn this into something like this for the same price, right? Now, if your contractor knew to do that, or if your designer understood, or if you were to be able to consult somebody that understood structure and final product at the same time, that's the tool that actually gives you guys that understanding to make educated purchasing decisions before you actually start to renovate. All right, I'm going to speed through this and show you some of the custom stuff that we put in here. In any design, we always put in multiple custom things. With these shows, oftentimes they may show 1 or 2 because it's only a 30-minute show, which is 22 minutes of airtime. And we all know what an HGTV show is, right? It's meet the cute young family. We have the design in our back pocket, commercial break, go do something, cliffhanger, something happens, commercial break, you see some pillows, and it's done. You've learned absolutely nothing, right? So there's only so much time to be able to show you guys what we're doing. You can see here, this custom element is my favorite. This is where we had a little bit of innovation too. I have strived to make surfaces be as transformative as possible. They're some of the most valuable square footage in a home. This is my cooking cockpit. So this is a table that we made that actually was constructed and engineered to come down like a drawbridge and extend out to 9 feet with no legs. They can hold 2,000 pounds on the end. Now, how do we do that? I was actually at a trade show very similar to this, and I happened across a booth that made these bar helper things. Y'all have all been to a bar and seen where they enter behind the bar, and there's a little countertop section that can go up and down. All that is a small little counterbalance spring mechanism of sorts that holds that bar that goes up and down. I went and talked to one of the really smart people that were in a booth, just like this, and I said, hey, what's the maximum weight that you can make one of those do? And of course, I lucked out and talked to another fellow engineer, and I think I poked his pride button. He's like, well, we can make it huge, right? And I said, well, could you make it, I don't know, hold a couple of 1,000 pounds? He's like, probably. Literally, they came up with a custom solution for me to be able to create a table for a product that didn't even exist, but I was just a guy right off the street asking a very simple question. You guys are in the same position, so don't limit yourself. The technology is absolutely there. If you're curious, this was actually a mechanism called counterbalance, and it's an aluminum chassis with titanium rods that are tuned to the weight of the table. So at any given point, it's perfectly counterbalanced. That's how we're getting a completely cantilevered situation. But what we have here is actually a big vertical drawer that allows this woman to be able to have all of her appliances, all of her ingredients set in the shelf. She pulls it out, everything is there so she doesn't have to move. She loved to bake, so she has all of her family and friends around her while she's doing that. But when she's done, the best part is she just slams it closed, pulls up the drawbridge, and she's all done. Pretty cool, right? Anyways, there are so many different iterations of compelling design that may not be something that you see every day on Pinterest or on Houzz, but that really can transform a space in a much, much better way. It's combined with great tools, great products, great diagnostics. Again, if y'all ever have any questions, I'd love to be a resource. I always give out my information as well. My business is called WadeWorks Creative, but I have my website, chipwade.com. If you guys ever have any questions, whether it be about home design, whether it be about tools, diagnostics equipment, home inspection. I'm a licensed home inspector as well. That's one reason why I'm just super passionate about making sure families and homeowners have that quality information. I can definitely point you in the direction of the best products, the best tools, because I've seen quite a bit of it over the years. Sound good? All right, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's getting a little bit late. I don't even know what time it is. What time is it? It's almost 5? So I haven't insulted anybody quite yet. Okay, so I think we're pretty good. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, enjoy your day. Take a look at some of the awesome, fun things to see around the booth. Otherwise, we'll see you hopefully later on in the week. Thanks.
Thank you to Chip Wade. What a lovely human being. So now I have the pleasure of giving away one FLIR C3, which is an incredible device, and also 2 of these guys right here. So let me put these down, and then I'm back up. So I have some questions to ask you about what Chip just talked about. So the first 2 things we're going to give away are these guys right here, the VP50s. So the way we're going to do this is how we're doing all day. I'm going to ask the question, raise your hand. I'll call on the person who raised their hand first, and if you answer right, you get a VP50. So the first question, what animal was in the barn photo? Oh, you got it. A pig. You got it. Great. So after we finish this, come on up here and I'll give you your prize. Next question for another VP50. What's the website to explore 3D homes? What website did he say to go to be able to explore 3D homes? What was it? Close. Anyone else have a guess for what the website? Yes. Innovation Show Homes? Yeah, that's it. Good job. And now for the C3. This is probably the hardest question I will ever ask my entire life. Name one of the HGTV shows Chip does. Oh. Which one was it? Ah, that is not correct. There's 2 shows. What's the HGTV show? DIY? Is that correct, Chip Wade? Is it DIY? DIY, but on HGTV, what 2 shows? He said it earlier on. On HGTV, there's 2 shows. There's 14. You said 2. Curb Appeal is correct. I feel like we cheat a little bit. Sorry, yeah, it was on HGTV was the specific one, but that is a show on the DIY network? DIY network? I don't know, I don't watch television. There we go. Great, well, thank you so much for coming. That's all we have for today, but please explore the booth. Come back tomorrow. We're going to have more giveaways, more awesome panels, and I love all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.